Going on, creeps? Back again for another fun-filled venture video. Well, it's Monday again, obviously, since we're back here at the old millstone, as it were. Hope you had yourself a lovely weekend. In this neck of the woods, Doc did not have a very lovely weekend. It was very, it was very gray and cloudy, rainy off and on, cold. Just about as shitty as it could get. But here I am again, back with you, my happy place. So let's cut right to it. This week I'm going to be discussing, namely, Faking Miracles, which was episode 3 of season 6. So right where we left off last week after Billy and Pete got their letter, which sent them to New York. But today I'm going to be talking about another pair who are just as lovable. And of course I'm talking about 21 and the Monarch, or as they will become known, the Blue Morpho and Kano, which is going to be the focal point of this video, is that transitory period that the Monarch has here in season 6, because right off the get-go, when he moved out of that gated community and back into his childhood home, you could tell things were not as easy going in the life of the Monarch as they had been before as a pampered trust fund baby. I mean, we still are at a point where he still has plenty of money, but just moving back into that house and the discovery that he makes that has an impossible time coming to terms with that his father was indeed, well, not exactly a hero, but at least a vigilante, the Blue Morpho, when he finds the cave underneath his old childhood home. And he, just like the rest of the house, he doesn't know what the fuck to do with it because, I don't know, it's just like anyone else. It's very confusing and murky going back on your childhood, especially when you make some revelations like that. It's something that you'd kind of rather just abandon. But he can't do that because that's the only spot that they really have. So, moving forward with the Monarch, with his conflicted vision of how to move himself up in the guild, but he's really not able to do it as the Monarch because... Shut the fuck up. Shut up! Because Wide Whale hates his fucking guts. He's the exact opposite of, you know, the fucking typical, like, business suit bad guy. The Monarch really just revels in that fucking novelty that comes only with costumed arching. And everyone in New York is a lot more low-key than he is. And even the heroes, like I was talking about before, I think 2 episodes ago, even the fucking heroes are embroiled in this fucking bullshit, having to pay up to Wide Whale. So, at like I was just explaining, the Monarch finds himself in an extreme crossroads. And obviously 21 is right there with him because how can he hench for somebody that doesn't have any direction himself, let alone any direction to give to him? So this one starts off with a really cool flashback. Like I said before, some of my favorite sequences in the show are these flashbacks that they do, probably because they do them so rarely, and they're always so fucking good. But it turns out that it is Gary, 21, reading the story to the Monarch after they had just found the cave. And apparently, Jack Kirby was the one who did the artwork for the series in the Ventureverse, which was very neat to me to think that there's completely different heroes and everything, but the creators still stay the same. Because, as I said before, there really is no place for the Monarch as he is in New York. Because he got bumped down to level 4 because of the move. And he just, like I said, he just isn't embroiled in the culture. And when he becomes embroiled in it, it's very hostile towards him. Because, I mean, he comes to the party at Tophet Tower for Wide Whale's daughter Serena's birthday and gets fucking thrown out because he's wearing his costume and instantly put on Wide Whale's shit list. And he fucking instantly tries sabotaging him to Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch so that he just won't have to deal with him in his life anymore. Like that. Zero hesitation on it. And it succeeds. He fucking gets Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch. He gets a real hair across her ass when it comes to her husband, Malcolm, or the Monarch, or the Blue Morpho. Very confusing what to call him at this point because I don't even think he really knows. So, I mean, obviously he is having a pretty serious identity crisis at this point in time, and I've seen this season get a lot of flack for not having too much going on, and this is a show that really requires attentive viewers, and I know that the fans are very attentive, but maybe they were just a little annoyed that they waited so long for season 6, and we only got the real deal delivery in that opener, all this in Gargantua 2. The rest of season 6 was pretty much just build-up, and I guess I do have to admit that this existential crisis that Monarch is going through was a very slow build. We are at the end of it now, so I'm looking at it through hindsight. But it was something I was always very much with. I mean, maybe because he's a character that I can vibe with so hard, and I mean, hey, who doesn't have a fucking identity crisis every now and then? Who's to say who we are, even us? Sorry, didn't mean to get too existential there myself, but my point is that it's not really something that you can put your finger on if you're trying to realistically write something where someone is going through a situation like that, because I mean, 9 times out of 10 when you're caught in a situation like that, you're really not very aware of it, and the Monarch isn't extremely aware of it himself. He just pulls the trigger on becoming the Blue Morpho after he's embarrassed so much by Wide Whale and made to look a fool and like a fucking complete asshole to his wife. I mean, no one's really on his side other than 21, so his back is so fucking against the wall at this point that he had no choice. Because, I mean, with what Wide Whale did to him in having Copycat make a copy of himself and dress up in the Monarch's costume while pissing all over Doc Venture's abode, really kind of made it so that the Monarch kind of had to go away for a little while, if you think about it. Because not only is he fucking pissing all over his stuff, he beat the fuck out of Sergeant Hatred before running up into the Ventec Tower. So, like I said, he really doesn't have that much room to be the Monarch at this point, and why would he really want to be? Because just after this happens, and he's getting chewed the fuck out by his wife, he gets to whom he says that he was missing her fucking phone calls because he lost his phone, and obviously Copycat just dropped his phone right in his pocket, but he gets a phone call from Gary, 21, saying that he got the Morphomobile up and running. So, I mean, it's kind of just fate, almost. The invisible hand of fate. And in telling the story with everything that we know now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in this episode, while the council is trying to get themselves back to their former glory, there is a mention that Vendetta has gone missing since the events of Bot Seeks Bot from the prior season, which we now know has a very hefty impact on what is to come in season 7. Obviously not yet meeting Vendetta for who he really is, or Vendetta, as I like to call him, D-A-D. We don't know who he is yet, but they certainly make a point of mentioning him in this episode where obviously Vendetta was once the Blue Morpho, and we're coming full circle, and now his son is about to don the fucking suit himself. And in my opinion, this new persona that he takes is like an actual, like, I know all of his personas are based on butterflies, but I mean, I'm guessing it was probably just a happy accident that it worked out like this, because I mean, or maybe this is just how I perceive it, but in my opinion, this new persona of the Blue Morpho is like a fucking cocoon that the Monarch is wrapping himself in. It's very loose at this point. He's very tender, very exposed, but as we go forward, he really fucking kind of just cements that cocoon around him while he's building himself up inside and changing. And as we see in that fucking scene from season 7, he is after he becomes a level 10, he becomes a fucking boss. And it's all thanks to this fucking cocoon that he made for himself as the Blue Morpho. Alright, well, I don't want to talk your ear off too hard. Once again, I'm going to have to plug my short story, The Pernicious Portrait. If you want to find that and listen to it, you can download it for free on anywhere, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Just download the episode Pernicious Thoughts. It's the last 8 minutes. Or watch or watch the video on here. And give me some feedback. I really fucking need it right now, and it would be very much appreciated. Alright, well, there will be a new episode of the podcast tomorrow, per usual. An episode of Storytime Friday, per usual. And if you're not going to be here for that, then there will be a new episode of Return to the Ventureverse next Monday. Alright, well, until then, creeps, this has been Doc. Peace out.